3, 2, 1. There's no podcast like Sardonicast. There's no podcast like Sardonicast. There's no podcast like Sardonicast.
Ooh.
I tried.
Something weirdly culty about that.
I know, right? I was like, I don't know. I could have said there's no place like Sardonicast, but it's not really a place. I could have said that. But I guess now we have a chant for our brainwashed followers. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast. What's up?
I'm Ralph from YouTube.com/Ralph the Movie Maker.
And I'm Alex from IHG. I got a question for you, Adam.
Uh-oh.
I was just thinking, I was pondering about this last time I sent my audio over for you to edit. I was wondering if you ever hear any like really gross noises from Ralph or I when you go through it.
Oh, this is a good question.
What's the grossest noise you've heard?
I know I lip smack a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I can't help it. So.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I've become more efficient at getting rid of them. But yeah, it's so as I'm like working through the audio, removing the noise, like the background noise, and like compressing it, it brings up a lot of the lower levels, and so I wind up, depending at certain points in the audio, you can hear like breathing or like scratching your chin or something like that. I don't know if I've heard any noise that's like particularly gross. Mostly just like lip smacking noises, or sometimes Ralph's dog will bark, or sometimes there'll be a siren,
police, or
a creaky chair, or I don't know. There's a variety of things. Sometimes it'll sound like something fell on your mic, Ralph. I'll be like, "What was that?" But yeah, it's not bad. Like, I've never heard a gigantic fart, if that's what you're wondering.
Who's going to be the first?
No.
It's got to happen one day.
Yeah, I think I'm the one that makes the gross noises. I'll, like, just burp or, like, do something like that. And sometimes edit it out if it's funny or not.
I feel like you, as, like, an editor, you build up just a resilience to anything sound-related like that. Like... People have been in the room when I've edited a video before, and they're like, does that not drive you crazy? Because you tend to just like repeat like the same second over and over again until you get it right. So you're just used to that repetition. So it's weird to think about from the outside perspective sometimes.
Yeah, because I do stream my editing. A lot of people ask that question. It's like, how does this not drive you insane? Or how do you not hate your own voice? You just kind of...
You get over that quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a matter of like what is normalized, or what is I guess a part of your routine. It's weird to be like surprised or taken aback by something that's like so constant.
Yeah.
So you were saying before we started recording that your entire past week or two has been 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah. I've been a long time fan of the series, if that's the right word for it. But I've been bouncing around the idea of doing a video on season 3 for ages now, because I think it's the funniest season to me. I think that's my conclusion.
What do they do this time?
Oh man!
Because like each season
it's
has
like a murder mystery this season.
Oh, right.
Well, it was kind of a murder mystery to begin with, but more like whose fault was it that Hannah Baker committed suicide? That was this original story, and then second season was like
so
this
like
really
a
boring
school
court
shooter.
case.
Yeah.
But then season 3, this all about the murder of the person who was responsible for Hannah's death.
Wow. I mean, everyone was responsible for Hannah's death, weren't they?
Yeah, true.
That's what the show is trying to imply anyway.
Yeah, Bryce. He's like made into a real like main character. He's one of the main characters in season 3, and they tried to add like a sympathetic slant to
which
him.
is really weird.
It's so funny to me. There's literally a scene where he breaks into someone's house, and it turns out it's the wrong house, and then he threatens a child with his life. And then like the next scene, there's like this innocent playful banter with him and his mother, like innocently painting a room, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, what's the consistency of like, what do you want me to believe?
Yeah.
Like, I can't forgive this guy at this point, man. Like, you've written him as such a cartoonishly evil person. Like,
the entire show is just so backwards and like incredibly
Yeah, it's
immoral if
written backwards.
you start to break it down.
Yeah, every episode starts with that like warning with the actors really seriously being like, just remember, if you need help, go here. And then the show starts and it's the most melodramatic, over the top, ridiculous, like EastEnders kind of nonsense. And it's like, what? You've really backed yourselves into a corner here, guys. This is just, you just let it die. Stop.
Yeah, it's weird because it's popular enough that they just want to keep it going, but they don't know how. And so now just the plot line is the most ridiculous thing in the world. And I don't know what these writers are trying to do, honestly. I don't know what type of side that they're trying to like
just keep it going. That's all that matters.
I really don't know if they even have like a any like real slant anymore. It's just like, well, they're going through the like list of dramatic political ideas at the moment, like it's like abortion and
the hot button
college
issues.
They're going through like just the list and they're quickly running out of them, like they've done pretty much all of them in 3 seasons. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, the spring fling was gonna get shot up and then it didn't because the main character just talked it out with the school shooter, and then they decided not to tell anybody about it, even though they were paranoid and they thought that he had a gun in his bag for like an entire episode in season 3, but they still didn't tell anybody about it. They just love covering up crimes for no reason.
And I really didn't understand why they like every main character really vouched for that school shooter guy. They were like really like putting their necks on the line for him. And I really didn't understand that because the shooter kid didn't have like any strong relationships really with any other characters, so it felt really forced for them to do that, just as a way to get around the fact they even included that shocking aspect of like what looked like was going to be a school shooting.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad they didn't do. I watched through all of season 3 and did like the whole commentary thing. I think I found season 2 funnier though. I think season 2 was more enjoyable. As in, like, from a humor
it's the court
perspective.
stuff for me that's, like, it's just more boring in my mind. Season 3 was, like, they introduced that new, like, lead character, the like, British woman who's really annoying, who comes in, and it's like, why are you necessary to any of this?
She's not.
And it's like, and she's kind of a bad person, too. Like, everyone is so unlikable. There's like only 1 or 2 characters that have any sense in the entire show, and any time they speak any truths or sense, they just get silenced by the rest of the group, and then they just leave. It's really funny.
It makes it worse because this is intended for a younger audience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Who do they find out, or do you find out who the killer is at the end? And does it make any sense? You don't have to like spoil who it is, but like,
you do find out the truth, and
does it make any sense, or
it's ridiculous.
Okay.
It's all very stupid. And there's there's so many like obvious red herrings or whatever. There's so many obvious little setups for each episode. It's like, okay, well, we're clearly not going to figure out who killed him in episode 5 out of 13, so this isn't it. And you're just wasting time right now. They do this stupid thing where they change the aspect ratio between past and present.
Oh, like Homecoming
that's right,
did.
And like half of the show, maybe even more, takes place in the past, but you'd expect the present to be vivid and colorful and the past to be like undersaturated and like bleak color-wise. But they reversed it, and it's really confusing. It's like the opposite of what
really
logic
confusing.
would dictate for presenting those kinds of scenes.
It's clearly like just rushed out just for a new season. They got to get one out every couple years or so, every year.
Yeah, I wonder if the color correction and aspect ratio change was like a last minute decision when people realized that nobody would have any idea what the fuck is going on.
Did they not do that in the other seasons?
I don't think so. No, it was
to
new
me.
for season 3.
All right.
Just the plot line got so convoluted that they
it is
needed
like
to
getting
do
to
it.
Saw levels where
they're
just making stuff up to such insane degrees and filling in, like, they're telling the story through like flashbacks, which is like so annoying after a while because like clearly there was no through line or plan to any of this. You're just making it up as you go along, so it's just nothing's earned as a result.
Let's see how long they keep it going for. I'm curious.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only going to get more and more convoluted, like the Saw movies.
5-6 seasons.
Yeah,
it will only get funnier.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Like, I don't know. Saw is really special in the sense that it always stays true to the original plot line. It's constantly retconning itself and rewriting what actually happened to the other movies.
Yeah.
Whereas 13 Reasons Why, it seems like they just abandoned what the show is about and they're just doing whatever the fuck they want. And it's still like really confusing and stupid, but like it might as well be a completely different story with different characters at this point. Like this whole Bryce plot line doesn't have anything to do.
That's what I thought
really
they were going to do,
Hannah.
honestly, after season 1, was like have some kind of story where Hannah Baker's suicide was so like publicized and so famous that it like inspired other people or something.
Well,
to start doing it. It was about one of them, even though that happened in reality.
She's off filming real movies now. She's doing like Knives Out and a deleted scene from Avengers Endgame. So she's in real movies.
Really?
So there's a
in
deleted
Avengers
scene.
Endgame?
She was like Iron Man's daughter, but like older.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She loved him 3000.
It's an interesting bit of lore. Yeah. Hannah Baker is Iron Man's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this opens some doors, man.
Explains so much. Did you guys see
Clay
the trailer
Jensen's next
for the new Saw movie? Or
Yeah, I was
guess
going to
it's
mention
called
that because we were talking
Spiral
about Saw.
from the Book of
Spiral
Saw.
from the
no,
Book
I
of
did watch
Saw.
it.
So the Book of Saw is like, I guess they call it the Saw Bible too. It was like what they made up, that they write the entire Saw story in this book, and then they made movies out of it. But really, they just made it up as they went along. And apparently, this is like based on that. It's based on something in there. I don't
There's an
understand
actual
it.
book, and it's not just a part of a title. What are you saying?
No, they said it was the Saw Bible.
What?
You never heard the Saw Bible?
I've never
Like
heard
just
of this
in
before.
like a featurette, they were saying that. Are you sure that's not like a?
Well, I think
just like
it
a
might have
figure
been a
of
fan
speech?
speculated thing, but whenever these movies came out, they were like, oh yeah, the whole Saw story is written out in the Saw Bible, and we're going to uncover it over the course of these 7 movies. But really, it was a bunch of crap. They just made it up as they went along.
I press X to doubt.
Okay.
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
think I don't think there was a real Saw Bible.
Yeah. They definitely did not have things planned from the first movie.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Actually, all these other characters were helping Jigsaw the entire time before the movie even happened. If you just panned the camera over to the left, you'd see Amanda.
Yeah.
You know, like, or Hoffman, or any of these other billion characters that were all just there from the beginning that you never saw.
yeah.
There were 3. Yeah, that
so
helped them
good.
out. It made no
That's
sense.
that's why I love Saw. It's just because it keeps rewriting itself and becoming more and more ridiculous. And nobody understands what the fuck is going on in those movies. I consider myself to be a bit of a Saw connoisseur here, a Saw expert, because I actually understand what's going on, but it is so complicated. And I just love the idea of like, you know, the people that showed up watching the Saw movies every Halloween. It was like, oh, it's Halloween, let's go watch a horror movie. Oh, Saw 4 is playing or something like that. People just show up to these movies. They might not be familiar with the first movies. They might have watched them and not really understood everything that was going on. And then all of a sudden you have like the twist at the end. The music plays, da 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 da, shows a guy from like Saw 3
Same
out of
thing.
nowhere, and people in the audience are like, who the hell is that guy? And things are like supposed to be kind of like revealing this twist, but nobody can really follow what's going on. That's why I love those movies so much. And I'm upset
acting
because it
is so good in
seems
them.
as though they're not going to continue with that. It seems like they're done with that. It really does.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't know
say,
if
like-
Can you take
Tobin Bell's going to be in this new one.
Oh, really?
Chris Rock is in it, and Samuel L. Jackson is in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, it seems like more like a kind of big budget, more serious is the wrong word, but they've attracted talent. You know, like there was a long string of Saw movies that they didn't have no Samuel L. Jackson or Chris Rock or, you know, any of these
Yeah.
big name actors in it.
Danny
so-
Glover.
Yeah. It's concerning because it is clearly just following that trend, like, you know, Fast and Furious doing their spin-offs like Hobbs and Shaw, and just from the Book of Saw, you know, from the, like, a Star Wars story, that kind of shit. And the poster looks like
It's a soft
Blade
reboot.
Runner.
Mhm.
Yeah, very strange stuff, but
You do have to take it in a new direction at this point, because that Saw
Well, yeah.
series has a bad reputation.
but why not
Like,
just
no one
reboot
takes it
it
seriously.
I
with
mean-
like it's concerning without Tobin Bell if he's not in it, because he's kind of like
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He is the series,
It's-
right?
it's
Like,
a-
if he's not in it, that's lame.
Nightmare on
I mean,
Elm
he
Street
is like
without
the Freddy Krueger,
exactly.
yeah, or the Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. He's not really.
What
It's
if
not like
that's the
him
twist?
going around stabbing people, but he's such a big part of it.
Yeah.
He's on every poster.
The
for the
movie is
first-
more about the villain than it is about the main characters. The main characters cycle every single film. Like, nobody gives a shit about them. They just die.
And he's a good actor too.
Yeah,
He's
I
like
him.
easily the best actor in any of those movies.
It made
his
his
fucking wife
career,
is like the worst.
and he works really well
Yeah.
for the role. Tobin Bell just is Jigsaw. That's who he is now, you know?
He's very good.
I'm expecting them to pull some bullshit like Samuel L. Jackson is the new Jigsaw. Like,
Oh, that might be why they got him. That actually
Yeah,
makes a lot
maybe.
of sense. You can get a
That's
big
probably the
actor,
twist
can
there.
sign him for multiple movies. Yep,
I don't know how I feel
I
about
like
that.
that idea.
Mm.
Unless Chris Rock is the new Jigsaw, but I don't think they're gonna do that.
Marty is Jigsaw. I like the sound of that.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know. How many dramatic roles has Chris Rock done
3.
other than Madagascar?
Oh, okay, none. I don't know. I can't really think. The only thing that pops into my mind is that Kanye song he randomly is in at the end,
Oh,
which has nothing to do with movies. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to take him seriously. Because even in the trailer, I'm not, like, sensing too much of a great dramatic performance from him. Like, I'll see how it is, for sure. I'm going to watch it. Also, it's not coming out Halloween this time.
yeah, I was gonna
Which is
say
weird.
May, isn't it? It's coming out. Weird
Really?
time. Really
Oh
weird
my
time.
God.
It sets kind of a different tone entirely for the movie. It's like, do they want us to take it seriously now?
Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
this like a drama?
Yeah, maybe
It's
it's
gonna
going to
be
be
like a
more of
superhero
like a
movie?
thriller mystery, and there won't even be any gore or something.
Yeah, that's possible.
That
I
is
mean, that kind
entirely
of torture
possible.
porn thing is not popular anymore, so they might not want to go that way.
But at the same time, it's not like Saw lost money on any of their movies. Like, they were so
Exactly, 'cause
inexpensive
they're so cheap
to make.
They
Yeah,
can do whatever they
exactly.
want.
They just decided to stop after Saw 7 because Paranormal Activity was more successful. I wish
Yeah,
they
but
would
then
have
they
kept
came
going.
back. Yeah,
They came out back for like one really crappy movie that I hate. There's a Saw subreddit that is much more active right now
Jigsaw.
after the Spiral trailer. And there's questions that people ask about the timeline because it's so confusing and convoluted that people need help. And every single time I read in one of those threads, there's always, like heavily upvoted posts and comments of people being like, yes, this is the timeline, and I hate that we have to consider the Jigsaw movie canon because it makes it so much more stupid.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah. The rest of the plot, however, 1 through 7, mwah.
They all made all over $100 million, which is pretty good.
Damn.
And they were
Yeah,
so
except Saw
inexpensive to make.
6. Mm-hmm.
Saw 6 is like maybe the best one, other than the original.
Saw 6
I
made
guess.
the least money.
I know.
Which one's
Yeah.
Saw 6? What's like the gimmick?
That was the
Kills.
one with was it like a? Oh my god, I forgot the name of it. It's like a wheel with a shotgun.
Yeah, there's
Was that Saw
a
6?
merry-go-round with a shotgun
Merry-go-round,
on
that's
it.
it.
Oh yeah,
The
that was.
shotgun.
And
that was
the
very fun.
overarching plot is it's like a weirdly political movie for Saw where they
Oh, it's the
About-
health
about
insurance.
yeah, they
insurance.
dabble in the
Yeah.
health insurance thing. And then the
It
first
had such a deep
trap that
message.
we see is like basically Jigsaw has made this whole thing for this CEO guy of a health insurance company, and he's like, you deny people their claims based on pre-existing conditions, and the first thing he does is he sets him up against the janitor in a fight to the death over who can hold their
That's
breath
right.
the longest, and the janitor's
'Cause
this
he's a
fat
smoker.
guy that's been smoking for his entire life. Meanwhile, the
It's so
CEO is
unfair.
just like some healthy guy. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Jigsaw's code.
Make your
like,
choice.
really-
Make your choice, live or die. That's not really a choice. I guess Hoffman set up that trap. It's very you can't even like attribute it to Tobin Bell. The plot's all over the place, man. But I've got
Yeah.
it figured out. It's very complex. It's very intelligent. Oh yeah, and it has the best scene of acting where like the two the two blonde women in the film that
is that
don't
movie?
feel like
Okay.
actors have this conversation with each other. And it's like they're
It was
acting off
Jigsaw's
nothing.
wife, and it was like a journalist, I think, the other woman.
Yeah.
And they just talk in her apartment.
Yep.
That was hilarious.
Oh man. I love that series so much. I just want them to
Awesome
continue
series.
in the same direction they were going. I don't want them to change.
Continue that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like that too. I mean, I even appreciated how Jigsaw kind of continued it and made an excuse for Tobin Bell to be alive, like in the movie, even though it made no sense.
It was. I hated that
the
twist so
explanation.
much.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but it was just
so
an excuse to have
stupid.
Tobin
Well,
Bell in the movie.
It not only made
The
no
alternative
sense,
is like
but,
what you said. You could have a clone or his twin brother, but I think that'd be too far. I think what I like about Saw is it's just plausible enough to be like stupid, but you're like, okay, I can understand why they took it that way.
Twin brother would
Not
make
a-
enough sense. You wouldn't have to go
Twin
into the
brother's
realm of
it's too far.
supernatural. No, it would be so perfect. Because then you would have an excuse for Tobin Bell to be alive again. The biggest mistake they ever made, or possibly the greatest thing they ever did, was them deciding to
killing
kill off
everyone.
Tobin Bell's character in Saw 3.
Yeah.
Because they had no idea that they would keep going. They were like, it's a trilogy, he's dead. And then every single movie after that point was either like trying to justify how the entire movie happened and was planned from when Tobin Bell was still alive and he's still pulling the strings, or the Hoffman character now stepping in and doing a bunch of these things for him. And that's why I hated
With
the twist in
tons of
Jigsaw so
flashbacks.
much, is not just because it's stupid, but because they already did that twist at the end of Saw 4. That was the twist then, was like, actually, this took place before he died in Saw 3. And then at the end of Jigsaw, it was like, actually, this took place before Saw 1. And this was the first big trap, actually, even though the televisions that were used in this trap were clearly more modern than any of the ones that he used in the first one. They were like
They were
flat
like flat
screen
screens.
HD TVs and shit. Like, fuck off. That made me so mad. And I was mad at them for not taking the opportunity to have Tobin Bell alive again. I was hoping that Jigsaw would be this jumping off point to be like, now it can continue again, flourish. You know, he's back, but he's not back. I want it to be stupid and just give me what I want. That's all, you know. Maybe we should start a Twitter mob. You know, they fixed the Sonic movie, so we can do
Yeah.
anything. We have the power.
Well, let's see what happens in Spiral.
For Saw, you want to do it?
Yeah, start a petition.
When is enough enough? Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to see what it is. I guess I'll watch it.
I'm kind of more curious now than I was for like that Jigsaw movie. Because it's just weird. Like, it's strange. Its existence is weird. The fact that like Chris
It's gonna
Rock
be a
is on
comedy.
Yes, it's like really weird what is going on with that movie. So we'll see.
I'm just disappointed it will be something so wildly different from its roots, and that's, you know, they said spiral from the Book of Saw. That's almost an implication right there. So
Yeah, we'll see.
might not
We'll
even
see
be
what
a gore
surprises
movie.
they have hidden.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to talk about Waves?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do. I only saw it today,
Yeah, you
3 or
just
4
saw
hours ago.
on
so it's
like
still kind of
Blu-ray or
fresh on my
Amazon?
mind. Yeah.
Mhm. Spoiler discussion.
I really enjoyed the movie. It's quite overwhelming, like emotionally.
Mhm.
Yeah, so because I don't really watch trailers or engage in any pre-release material, I had no idea what I was really in for. I'd seen this previous movie, It Comes at Night, is that what it's
Mhm.
called? Which I really enjoyed. But this is very different tonally, although there are some choices that really worked in It Comes at Night that kind of carry over, like the aspect ratio kind of change
He
thing,
likes
which
playing
is,
with those.
yeah, which is really effective, I thought, how it was implemented in the movie. But the movie kind of shifts halfway through. It's connected to the first half, but more kind of tangentially, you know,
Mhm.
with this idea, I guess, of the title, the waves of how, almost similarly to last episode's movie, the Meyerowitz stories.
Mayo.
God, Meyerowitz,
The Mayo
where
stories.
you know it's about how people are like forged through parenting and the way it affect like the family dynamics of everything, and the first half being about what's the actor's name? Because he's kind of the lead for the first half.
Yeah, he was in It Comes at Night too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I really
and he was
enjoyed
such
his
a good
performance.
actor that the director wanted to make a whole movie just with him.
There's loads of really great showcases of just acting.
Yeah.
It's a very actory movie. Lots of really intense scenes of the entire kind of emotional spectrum. Because that first half, I do think is more entertaining and more kind of electric than the second half, which is more kind of slow and contemplative and emotional and more kind of hopeful, to be honest, because the first half is like a spiral downwards and the second half is almost more of like a spiral upwards.
Yeah, it's incredibly stressful for the first half.
Yeah, but it's really effective with all the like intense like music and the pace of it and the like camera work and everything like that. It's very, very moody and it's very A24. You can say that much about it. But I was actually very pleased that, because I've been saying about how as much as I enjoy Ari Aster, I do hope he isn't just like that horror guy forever. And it's nice to see one of these A24 kind of directors come out and prove there's like a wide range of ability there, which is like I think a real skill.
Yeah, it's just a drama. There's no horror aspects, no action.
An ambitious one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real shame that it kind of got buried by A24. It didn't really get much of a theatrical release. It wasn't really that heavily promoted. They didn't do a big Oscars campaign for it. Nobody, like, I would have loved to have seen some acting nominations. The cinematography was like amazing. I really loved how it was shot.
Great editing.
The
very good editing.
Sort of like spinning kind of merry-go-round-esque shot in the vehicles. Just like
those are very
really gets my mind thinking about like how those scenes were shot. Like I guess there must have been some sort of like pivoting attachment on the top of the roof of the vehicle or like the interior, and just like a really tiny camera with like a wide lens or something just like spinning around and like either controlled by like a remote or something. I don't know. Like there were a lot of shots in that I was like, damn, that looks really cool. And it really got me thinking about them.
There was also like little details like just the way I thought the way phones were used in the movie was really realistic. The way people were texting and there were mistakes in the text and they were like sending extra texts with fixes and stuff, and it was quite like an important part of the movie, like lots of communication through phones, and I feel like we're getting quite good at displaying that now, because there was a time where these early like I'm reminded of like that
corny
Miley Cyrus movie. It's called
LOL.
like, LOL. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh God.
Like that's what,
shit like
that's
that.
What
like hashtag horror.
Shit. Yeah,
like
exactly.
the text comes up on like in front of the
exactly
where the actor's performing.
Yeah,
it's dated now.
But it felt very genuine.
One of the best scenes is when they break up basically over the texting.
Yeah.
And there's like music playing, and he's like over texting, and you could tell he's panicking just by the way he's writing. It's really good. It's really well thought out.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's a very soundtrack heavy movie, I would say, in the first half.
But it all fits. Because I think of like Suicide Squad, where none of it fits at all, and they use like 5 seconds of fucking Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever. And this was like perfect. Every song choice was like, when they were playing first of all, we have very similar tastes in music, I think. Me and the director, because I love like most of the songs he picked.
Okay, great.
And I'm with you.
What was it? The Kanye West song they play. That was probably the best part. Yeah, it was like, it was perfect.
From Yeezus or whatever. I don't normally like that album even, but the way they used that song was like, that's perfect for as like a reflection of this character right now. Like, because that album is about someone kind of like snapping, and that's exactly what the song sounds like, and it made sense in the movie the way it was implemented, along with like loads of the songs. Like, I was reading like some reviews, and some people were complaining about the music and it feeling kind of muddled and stuff, but I feel like, especially because it's way more present in the first half, there's way more kind of frequent frantic music use, and then in the second half it does calm it down.
Yeah, but there's still lots of music. Yeah,
there's still lots, but I feel like that kind of shows that it is like an intentional thing and not just through Suicide Squad level of composing something together.
And usually it was in the scene too. Like actors would be listening to it over the radio or on their phone, something like that.
Yeah, it all definitely fit. The soundtrack was definitely curated by Trey Edward Schultz. He obviously, he put those songs in the movie because he wanted them in the movie. It wasn't like an editing choice just later on.
His movies feel very personal, which is why I say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like his movie Krisha, apparently he just edited the movie himself, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It was
super low budget.
And that's kind of how this is. He edited himself. One other person edited it as well. But it feels like a guy it's entirely his vision. It's like written by him, directed by him, edited by him. And it's like really impressive to see something with this much personality. And it's why it works. It's why it feels so unique. Even though it can be like a little melodramatic if handled differently.
I was going to say, although all of the soundtrack choices definitely fit, it did feel a little soundtrack heavy at points, as in I kind of wanted a bit of breathing room instead of just going like from song to song. I felt like at points it did feel like a bit more of a music video than like a film telling a story sort of thing. It might not affect me as much on my second watch. I bought the Blu-ray, so we'll see. But that's what I felt the first time anyway.
What was your takeaway then of what the overall movie was kind of about to you then?
It was about, redemption, which was kind of made more clear through the, church sermon scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I kind of liked how I kept shifting in my mind who I was kind of subconsciously blaming for everything. I kept looking for someone like, oh, this is all their fault, isn't it? Why are they being so ridiculous? And like by the end, you really understand the situation to such a degree where it's like, man, this really isn't a black and white situation at all. And it's like you kind of have to really think about this and be objective, and not just jump to a conclusion based on... It touches into that social media angle where, of course, in the first half it ends with the main character being jailed and you kind of see all the comments and everything. And it's like people breaking down like a complex kind of exchange of things into such a small little, conclusion that, they really have no idea what went down. And like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like reducing complex things into
of course.
Reductionism and all that is...
Oversimplifying.
Yeah. I thought that was like an important takeaway for me. It's like, it's complicated. All these people are complicated people, and the characters and the actors and everything, you see where a lot of their thought processes come from. Like I really liked the dynamic of the family with the mother, like not technically not being the real mother, but being sort of like a stand-in for most of their lives. So she technically is their real mother, but biologically she isn't, and that had some drama there. So it's like a lot of drama that is explored through the dynamics in like a really relatable way. Like lots of really recognizable kind of character traits and people, I thought, represented in the movie really well.
The characters were very genuine.
Yeah.
The main character is Tyler, anyway, at least the main character for the first half. And there was a lot of pressure put on him by his dad, particularly. I guess a lot of people, but his dad mainly. And how that kind of destroyed him and made him do the things, or I guess made him, build up to that point where he exploded. But then
I felt so bad for him at first.
Yeah, I did. I felt bad, I guess, for the dad later on, because at first I thought the dad would just be kind of a one-dimensional asshole. Like, he put his son in this position. But he feels bad about it, and like, he's like, what did I do? I put all this pressure on my son, and it made him miserable, and it made him anxious, and that carried on over into his relationships and other things too.
Because he has that speech to his son, doesn't he, where he's like, he tries to explain, like, from his perspective, he's doing it for him. Like, in his mind, he's like,
he thinks,
trying
like,
to just improve
world is
him.
such a tough place, like, you need to be strong for it. But it put too much on him, to where he was, like, medicating himself, and, it's just these ridiculous expectations were put on him, and he couldn't take it. Yeah,
that doctor scene was pretty brutal.
The scene where he gets his arm crushed during the match, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, every bit of like exercise or anything to do with that arm after that doctor scene was like making me wince.
Yeah,
like,
it was very stressful.
Yeah, because what's going to happen. Like after that scene, it's like, shit, I know exactly where this is going, and it's like watching the car crash in slow motion type thing. You can't look away.
It's like watching a bunch of Jenga blocks being stacked on top of each other, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
getting there. It's gonna fall. Stop it.
So what did you think of Lucas Hedges?
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
I noted that down.
He was fine. He didn't like ruin
I thought
the
it was
movie
his
or
best
anything.
acting he's ever done.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had no issues with him, man.
When he
That's fine,
fits the role, it's fine. I don't know. People expect me to just hate every single thing he does.
And the first half, he's not in it at all. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is that it? Is he going to be in like 2 shots in the
Yeah.
background? But then he becomes a major character in the
Mhm.
second half of it.
Yeah, I don't hate the guy. I just sometimes he's placed in roles that are a little too complex for him. Sometimes it doesn't feel
Did you
genuine.
see mid-90s? I saw that
Mid-90s?
recently too.
Yeah, I
he's
think
in
he was
that.
decent in that, from what I remember.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Did you notice how I might be wrong, this is just from memory, but I'm pretty sure that with the aspect ratio changes in the film, it follows a very symmetrical kind of pattern where
Yeah.
it starts with one, it's like aspect ratio A, then B, then C, then B, then A again. That's at least what I remember, which is kind of interesting because that you could consider that to be like a wave of its own. So that kind of like
Sure,
fits
yeah.
with the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about with the movie. It's got a hell of a lot of like dramatic elements in it and all sorts of different like political subjects.
Yeah, really great. I just
Yeah,
love the
there's
way
just a lot
it
going on.
feels and looks. It's not just like a very competent and professionally presented movie. It's something that's also very passionate and unique. And
Yeah,
I
that's
love
what makes
the
it so great.
flowing camera movements that are kind of like Terrence Malick-y at points. Somebody mentioned, I guess I didn't fact check this, but somebody said that he like worked on some Terrence Malick films before doing his own stuff,
Oh, okay.
which would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a very compassionate movie,
Hmm.
as you're saying. That's what I kept thinking. Is it is in touch with like the human side.
All right. Anything
Beautiful.
else to say about it, or should we move on to the
No,
next,
it's just excellent.
Don't
Yeah,
watch it if
everyone
you
should
don't like
see
lots of people crying.
it.
That's my recommendation. But watch it though, it's very good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely watch it. 8 out of 10 from me. We'll see if that changes.
Yeah,
Um,
mine's the same at the moment.
I'd say 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Snap. There
Yeah.
you go.
Very nice.
I know I didn't say a lot, but yeah, it's 10 out of 10.
All right, there was a film that was recommended at the end of last episode that we all watched from
Yeah.
Alex.
So I recommended the 1939 classic, considered one of the greatest films in cinema history, The Wizard of Oz, directed by... What's his face? I've lost it now. Well, directed by not just one, but like 5 people, but mostly by Victor Fleming. Man, it's got to be one of the most like ubiquitous stories in pop culture. I feel like even if you haven't seen the film, you've kind of seen the film. I think even the David Lynch movie we did a long time ago, didn't that
Yeah,
reference
Wild
The
at
Wizard
Heart.
of Oz a fair amount? Yeah,
a
Wild
lot.
at Heart.
It is David Lynch's favorite movie.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there you
that
go.
one.
Mhm. And I get why. Yeah.
Yeah, this must be... Is this the oldest film we've talked about? I don't think we've gone before 1939, have we?
Yeah,
think
not in a
so.
full discussion.
Yeah, so of course, like what you imagine in your head when you sit down to watch like one of these kind of films that, you know, are so ridiculously famous that like they exist in a different plane, really, than like your average film. There's like there's that doubt in your mind that like, oh, this is just gonna be old and lame and boring. But like immediately, like it's like really great. Like the movie is really impressive in a lot of not only technical ways, but just its like basic formula is just really solid for a story. It's very kind of simple and childish, but that's the point. It's an adaptation of, you know, a book aimed at kids. So
Hmm.
It does have a timeless quality to it, which I bet a lot of
absolutely,
people
yeah.
say,
Even
but-
like the things that are harder to defend, that have aged, they do have a certain charm to them purely because of how
and
old
they're very
they are.
memorable. Yeah.
Is the book aimed at kids?
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with the original source material.
I want to say it is. Children's fantasy novel.
Okay.
That's what it's referred to by L. Frank Baum.
Because I heard that the kind of like symbolic elements were much more present in the original novel, which I kind of found interesting, like the the representations of Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Lion being like American industrialism and American farmers and politicians sort of thing.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that a lot during the movie, but I was writing that line of like, how much am I reading into this? Like I wasn't sure like where to draw the line, because I don't know that much history from around when this book was written, so I wasn't sure if I was projecting stuff onto it. But I definitely was seeing that some of the dialogue makes it fairly overt, I thought, with like a lot of lines about like straw men or something. I thought was like a double meaning thing. There's definitely like little stuff in there that was like that's clearly got like two meanings right there, one for children and one for adults, but I'm not entirely sure what the full picture is without, because like full books have been written on like the meanings of it, because it's a classic piece of like literature in our culture, so there's all sorts of kind of...
You can sync up Pink Floyd's album with it. Is it Dark Side of the Moon? You sync
yeah.
up with it?
I forgot about that.
Apparently, I don't know. I'd have to watch it. I feel like that's one of those things where it's like...
Yeah, I think I've tried it before. I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work.
There's a bunch of movies that people say Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon lines up with. And it's like, yeah,
I think that's easily the most
I don't
famous
know.
one.
It's like, it reminds me of that Room 237 thing, where the one guy's like, I played the movie forwards and backwards at the same time, and I overlaid the clips on top of each other, and there are certain moments in the film where things line up perfectly. It's like, yeah, because Kubrick shoots a lot of his films very symmetrically, okay? You're going to have certain things in the middle of the frame at the same time, because a lot of things are in the middle of the frame. Jesus, sorry.
There's a lot to appreciate about it on like a less literal level, but on just a surface level, you have all these great like costumes and musical numbers and sets, and it's really entertaining. So kids can enjoy it too. It's like a movie made for everybody, basically, which is why it's held up as long as it has.
Yeah, because it's like, it's like the Avengers, isn't it? It's like 1939's Avengers. It's like an assembly of these like classic characters, and they've all got their quirks and little story behind them, with it all obviously being kind of like personifications of how the character... like kind of feels in her head with the things she might feel like she's lacking, because the whole movie's like a dream.
Yeah.
It's revealed at the end, which is normally a thing that's like, you do not do that. But apparently around the time, producers kind of forced that dream angle in because they didn't think audiences were ready for the fantasy angle, because of course around then you didn't have your Lord of the Rings and all these like huge epic fantasy type things. It was more goofy in people's minds.
Interesting.
So they apparently added that section in, and like there's a load of like really interesting behind the scenes information about this movie. Like if you look at the listing on IMDb, there are so many directors listed, which is usually like a pretty negative sign when that happens, like when we hear about it nowadays, like Solo or Justice League, like passing on directors and whatnot. But here they somehow managed to make it work. They had like a creative consistency, and honestly, in watching the movie, I didn't really notice any like great disparity between like scenes. One wasn't really different to other directors, like at least obviously. Yeah, and like there's all these like crazy stories about all the Munchkin actors apparently being quite creepy and like groping Judy Garland and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like crazy stuff that you can read about the movie, like books you can read and documentaries.
They put all the Munchkins like in one hotel right outside the studio, the Culver City studio. Yeah, I got a drink there actually. It was pretty good.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge list of things that were done in the film that would just not fly today in terms of production, because actors have rights now.
Yeah, well, the fake snow was asbestos.
Yeah. I'm not sure how aware they were that asbestos was cancer.
No, they had no idea.
Yeah.
This is what it says. This is a quote. Everyone who came into contact with it would have inhaled similar quantities to those working in a functioning asbestos mine.
Ugh.
Oh
So
my
they inhaled a
God.
lot of asbestos,
Yeah.
Wow.
which is fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad, man.
The Wicked Witch of the West fucking got engulfed in flames with the trap door and the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
I was
oops, sorry.
I was impressed with like the amount of little people. Like the Munchkins it's my favorite part of the movie. There
There's
are
so many.
124 little people in it. And yeah, it's I don't know.
Really, that's your
Some of them
favorite
were
part.
children,
It's-
though,
it's-
right?
Yeah, it's just so some of them were children, but there were 124 little people. I don't know. I just like seeing because you don't see that usually. It's such a bizarre
True,
like
it's very
image.
strange.
And they're all like dressed up in like these outfits and
They're
I don't
just
know, it was like a
Oompa
fever dream.
Loompas. It's the same.
Like I don't think you could do that now. And even the new Wizard of
No.
Oz movie, they don't have that level of Munchkins in it. And that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie they made recently, it was just one guy
Ma-
they cloned like a bunch of times.
What?
Yeah. Well, like
guess I
you
didn't
know,
watch it.
CGI using visual effects, not in real life.
That's weird.
Make a clone machine.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch it in 4K?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the
So-
Blu-ray.
I thought it looked very good, but it was interesting how crisp and clean like it is, because obviously when I would have seen it as a child, it would have been a way kind of older, like VHS era kind of look, so you didn't see the detail on the costumes quite as well. It makes it more impressive and less at times. It does make it look more, silly at points, because like you can see the seams a little bit, but there is just an inherent charm to all of it, in my mind anyway. Because it is like so, with the way the film is kind of presented with these like elaborate sets and this like rear screen projection stuff and all this like paintings and all that, there is like a kind of playish sort of feel to the movie where it feels like you're kind of watching like a stage show almost, which I think adds to that timeless nature, because it is really charming the way it looks and the way everything's structured. And it's funny how like whenever they run towards the horizon, they have to like fade it out before they reach the back of the set. Like, noticing that's quite funny, but
Yeah,
it
the
does
special
have a
effects
deep
are
inherent
really
charm.
inspired. They are. The model of the house and like the tornado, all that was a lot of fun. We haven't even talked about the film is in color, and not that it's the first movie to be made in color, but it's a very
usage, yeah.
famous example of like the use of the Technicolor process with 3-strip. So
Yeah, vivid looking movie.
it looks really good.
Yeah, it captures that kind of dream idea quite well, because there is
Uh-huh.
that contrast, isn't there, when they go back. Unlike 13 Reasons Why, it's a bit more obvious in this movie.
Oh, no.
And the colors are just really good and rich, and the costumes look great. Like even the ruby slippers and like the paint on the Green Witch or the Wicked Witch, like it looked great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the transition from like black and white sepia or whatever to color.
Sepia tone.
With the like spinning like house miniature thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the twister and all that.
Yeah. It was a very kind of playful tone for a tornado scene. when it got to that point, just like these people in the window waving like, "Oh, hey, Dorothy." That's also I
whole
kind of
movie
enjoy
had a playful
that like the reveal that it's a dream at the end. It's not like out of nowhere. It's not like unexpected gigantic twist sort of thing. If you're watching the movie and paying attention, it's like, yeah, she got hit on the head, she's in bed, it's basically going into a dream. The characters that you see are characters that we saw earlier, like Hunk and Hickory, these weird named characters playing these other guys. So yeah, it didn't come out
And
of
Miss
nowhere. It
Gulch
didn't
is
feel
the
like
Wicked
completely
Witch.
unjustified.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. And I love the shot of her on her bicycle.
Her introduction was funny. Yeah.
Because it's like
that made me laugh.
this visual parallel to her on the broomstick. And I like that she has her own theme song, like ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, I like that.
We haven't even talked about the music. It's like one of the best things about the movie in my mind. Like the
Yeah.
musical numbers. It's a musical, obviously. What's like your favorite musical number in the movie?
The fucking Munchkins.
Really?
Yeah.
You're like obsessed
That
with the
whole part.
Munchkins.
That whole part is like incredible. I think
I
that's the
find
most
that
memorable part.
There's something quite unsettling about the first Munchkin like scene to me.
Yeah.
It's like so overwhelming. Like there's something
It
quite
is
creepy
intense.
because like they're wearing masks and stuff and these really strange costumes, and it's just like a weird set. It's it is very like kind of creepy.
You
I
feel like
couldn't
you're in a
figure
new
out-
world. The spectacle is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Like what
but
other
I didn't-
movie you see over 100 little people like dance around like that? It's crazy.
I'm glad they didn't really linger on that though. It could
No,
have
it's not
like
about them.
yeah, exactly. Like it moves on really quickly to start establishing the Scarecrow, the Iron Man, and the Lion.
Iron
the Lion
Man.
being my favorite.
Iron Man and Alex the Lion.
It is the Avengers.
But yeah, they are really what carry the movie and keep it entertaining in my mind. Is
Yeah.
like these really fun physical performances from
Yeah.
these kind of characters, especially the Tin Man. To me, it is so silly and like childlike, but really charming. in how,
The
like,
Scarecrow
over the
would
top
move
it is.
around like he had no bones. He would like,
Oh, yeah.
flop around. It was
Yeah, it
very
was falling
subtle, but
over
it was
and stuff,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
When they have to oil the Tin Man, that was really kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
He's like can't talk.
Yeah, there's some creepy ideas.
Oh yeah, when you and especially in 4K when you look at the the mask kind of like costume that the Scarecrow has, and just realize what's going on like the face and the neck. Like I never really put that together in my brain. Just look at a picture right now
same.
and just like realize what is happening in this costume or like what's being implied here. And it's kind of weird, creepy in a way,
It's creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah, the mask's really creepy.
Yeah, getting back to the musical numbers, I think my favorite would have to be Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I really love that song.
Yes, the obvious
Really
pick.
great.
Yeah, it's very good.
I forgot how long that first section goes on for before they get to Oz. Because in my memory, it was like, oh, they get to Oz really quick. But they introduce all those characters in her like real life, and then she has that song, and it was entertaining even still
Yeah.
with all that.
It didn't
before
really
they get
drag
to
on or
Oz.
anything.
No, not at all. It was fine. Yeah.
hmm There's definitely a lot of great songs in this movie. I don't think every song was great, and gotta admit that after a while it does get a little bit exhausting. Them singing everywhere they're going, it does kind of get like a little bit much for me. Closer to the end of
Yeah,
the
I can
movie, like
see.
in the second half, I'm like, oh, stop singing. But there are some really great songs in the movie, and they're classics for a reason. So many classic quotes in the film as well. It's just like, oh yeah, like if you were watching this for the first time, you'd hear a lot of things that you'd already heard before just from pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen this movie before, though, right?
Yeah.
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 It was weird how it actually came flooding back to me watching it. I was like, oh, I remember every scene of this movie. And I thought I'd just like maybe only seen parts of it as a kid or something, but I'd definitely seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
Because it was all there in my memory.
It was something that was on TV a lot, like as a just commercial breaks
the
in
holidays
between
and
or
stuff.
whatever. I definitely saw the movie multiple times. I don't know if I'd seen it not on cable TV or whatever, but definitely familiar with the entire movie before watching it again. Just hadn't seen it in a while.
It's apparently one of the most watched films of all time or something.
I can believe that.
It's a fun movie you could put on for basically any demographic of person.
Mhm.
It's one of those. It's not offensive. It's not like it's just a lot of levels you can appreciate it on, whether you're looking into it deep or just looking for something entertaining. And this director too, Victor Fleming. He's one of the greatest directors maybe in Hollywood. He directed Gone with the Wind. He directed Joan of
Nice.
Arc. Like he's made tons of classics, and it's on that level. I think I don't know how much he directed of it, but it is of that quality.
I think he did the
Like-
main chunk from my understanding.
Yeah, I'd like to know what he didn't do, because there's a lot of other names on it.
Yeah, it is very strange to see that many directors credited to
Yeah.
something that isn't one of those like anthology type movies.
Did Michael Jackson steal the leaning dance move from the Tin Man? 'Cause he did it
That's
first.
what I was
Yes.
thinking. That's exactly what I thought. Except the Tin Man probably really didn't do it. he was like, it was probably a wire.
I mean, Michael Jackson doesn't really do it either. There's like nails in the floor, basically.
Really? Oh, I always thought he really did it.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't think he does. I think it's a stage performance sort of thing where like the bottoms of the shoes, you can like kind of hook your feet into like a little nail
That
sticking
makes
out of the
sense.
floor or something. You're able to like move your body forward and not fall over. Otherwise, it just defies physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the nail comes back down through the floor after you're done. I don't know.
I've got a Munchkin question for you guys. Something that really
Really?
bothered me.
Okay.
Did you notice when they show the kind of baby Munchkins, they were nesting? They were like in eggs.
Oh,
Was
I
that,
don't
like-
remember.
That really stood out to me because I was like, "What? Are you implying that Munchkins are like laid? They lay eggs? They hatch out of eggs? They're birds? This is really weird." Look out for that if you ever see it, and I'm sure
Yeah, I
at least
remember
one other
that.
person saw it.
So
is that
weird.
just their weird beds, or like? Are they,
Oh,
No,
I
it's
don't
implied
know.
they like hatch. They hatch from these
trying to be
eggs and
weird.
like fully dressed. They were like in pink outfits. Like
It is
I was like,
horrifying. It's very, very weird.
Yeah.
Did you notice the Munchkin that hung himself?
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that too.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to talk about this. Someone explain this, please.
There's just a dead Munchkin in the background.
But there isn't.
Is it true?
No.
Though? Yeah, it's a
No.
conspiracy, right?
No, it's like there's a bunch of fucking, creepypasta has existed for a long fucking time. Like early days of the internet and just, even pre-internet, there have always been kind of like urban legend weird things that, especially before the internet, people wouldn't be able to like fact check or verify. And when we had, The Wizard of Oz and the only copies available at one point were just like VHS quality bullshit. I'm pretty sure the scene they're talking about where you see it, the Munchkin hanging themselves in the background or something, I'm pretty sure that was just like a bird on set or something. Like one of those like big birds that they got, kind of like ostrich looking things or whatever. Yeah, I don't think a Munchkin
Yeah.
hung themselves on set and that the people
Yeah, 'cause-
wouldn't notice and then printed the film.
Exactly how they get in the movie.
Oops. Yeah, I think
You
that's a
never
bunch of
know.
bullshit.
They didn't make those movies like with that intent back then. Like, oh, people are going to notice things in the background upon multiple viewings, and when they watch it at home, they can freeze frame it. And it's like that was not the thought process back then,
Mhm.
because they knew people would just watch it like once and in a theater, and that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a point I noticed a camera shadow, like on one of the trees.
Oh, really?
I'm like, oh, they probably just didn't give a shit because they're like, it'll be in theaters for a year
Yeah.
and then that's it. I don't think they realized like how far in the future like these films would be viewed and like
Yeah.
that we'd be watching them on tablets and like over the internet on
On your
Netflix
fucking phone.
on our fucking telephones.
Your Apple Watch.
Yeah, you can watch it on your Apple Watch. But yeah, it's just crazy.
That's why so many animators would sneak in things.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? I think it was like the Great Mouse Detective or something, where the animator snuck in 3 frames of a topless woman in a window. It was either that one or another Disney mouse movie.
Animators are notorious for that, aren't they?
Yeah. And then it's like, oops, we have the ability to pause now. Oops. Sorry. My bad.
Did you find the guy who was crying tears of joy to be like a bit too intense in the moment towards the end of the movie?
A bit too intense.
Which
he's
character
like-
was that?
He
Like, which
hears
fan?
Dorothy. He hears Dorothy like saying her sad story, and then
Uh-huh.
he's so moved by it that he lets them in, and he's crying so much, like his whole face is like soaked. Like it's really such a jump in emotion, like randomly. It was very,
I thought it was fun.
very silly. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah,
But
I
it was
don't even
surprisingly
remember that.
funny all around. I thought like there's
Yeah.
some pretty like witty, cute stuff in there.
It's very entertaining.
Mhm.
Like I don't just appreciate the movie, I really enjoyed watching it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed seeing all these crazy like musical numbers and these performances and yeah, and on that technical level too, I really appreciated it. I appreciate it as part of film history and as a work of art. It's really well done. It deserves like all the acclaim it's gotten.
Yeah, for sure. I love the part where the The witch very slowly writes, "Surrender, Dorothy," in all caps in the sky. I found that to be kind of comical. It's weird because, like, by the end of the film, it doesn't even seem like the conflict between Dorothy and Miss Gulch has been resolved. Like, theoretically, the next day, she's just going to show back up and steal Toto again. Like, I don't know, the movie just kind of ends.
Yeah, because the story, there isn't much to it, you know, really, when you, like, try to analyze it. It's very, very simple in that storybook kind of way, child storybook kind of way, with, of course, it culminating with the witch being defeated by water accidentally being...
Where did that water come from?
Yeah,
I don't know where it came
about
from.
the witch death scene. It feels a bit like it's like, okay, the movie's kind of over now.
Yeah. In my memory, I thought of it as a scene where they were like, oh, they figure out that, you know, they need to, like, put water on her. Just in my memory, like, I thought this, and then they get water and then pour it on her. But no, it's just literally a random bucket of water sitting right next to them.
Do you think that's what inspired Shyamalan for Signs?
Yeah, probably. I don't
definitely.
know.
Yeah, I think that's what that's an homage to. Except in Signs, it makes no sense.
Yeah, well, you could argue in Signs that it's holy water because the Mel Gibson blesses it, and
Is that what people
the
say?
aliens are actually demons.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
That's a theory anyway, that there's more of like a religious aspect to it in terms of like the subtext, more so than supernatural, and that they're like demons rather than aliens.
Huh. Yeah. I'll have to rewatch Signs now then, I suppose.
I guess so. Anyway.
So deep.
Yeah, Dorothy ends the movie with brain damage, and she's crazy.
Sequel.
Nobody believes her.
She lived through a horrible tornado accident.
Yeah, on her bed. It all worked out.
She just wakes up in her bed. I'm like, what happened in between the tornado and that? Like, did they find her in a field? Like, what the fuck?
I think the tornado probably just like barely missed the house.
Yeah?
I think she was just
fell
fine
asleep?
because the tornado just went like on a little bit of a different path, didn't destroy everything, sort of thing.
And she like had an anxiety attack and passed out.
Well, she got hit on the head by a broken window. That's what knocked her out.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Like smashed into her
that's
head.
right.
It all worked out. I love the Professor Marvel or whatever. The guy that's like subtly tricking her into going back home at the beginning. That's something that I didn't really
too, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I didn't really pick up on that watching it as a kid, just like how he was just trolling her basically, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Some good practical effects, especially for the time. Some interesting sets.
I don't think the movie did well when it came out.
Oh yeah?
It wasn't like a
Yeah, I
huge
was
hit,
reading that.
but it's become a
Yeah.
classic over time. Yeah.
They must have made us a lot of money through, I guess, syndication
Mhm.
at this point. Being
Maybe
played
on
so
TV,
many times.
people loved it.
What do you guys think of Glinda? She's kind of manipulative. she's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I couldn't tell you how to get back home. You wouldn't have believed me. I just wanted to manipulate you into killing these people before you left." She's
Just what
pulling
they're
the
like back then,
strings.
wasn't it?
She's a jigsaw. She's the mastermind.
Oh, the Wizard of Oz.
No, Glinda.
Who are you talking about right now?
The woman who like shows up and she's like a nice looking fairy or whatever she's supposed. She's like a witch or something.
Yeah, she's
Her
like
name's
the good
Glinda.
Oh, the
And
one who
she's
comes out of
like-
the bubble thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she basically manipulates Dorothy the entire movie and withholds information from her
Yeah.
in order to get her to like assassinate these other characters. Like, then by the end of it, she's like, "Yeah, you could have went home the entire time, but I didn't tell you. You wouldn't have believed me." Oh, okay.
It's an Aussie Oz world out there, man.
She's kind of an asshole. She's so smug too. That dumbass smile. She loves herself. I said everything.
Should we rate it and then
Yeah.
let's rate it and then mention what we can remember of the other Wizard of Oz related things.
Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
seen any of the other
Questions,
ones. You guys go ahead.
There's Return to Oz. I
yeah,
haven't
but-
seen Return to Oz. I saw the James Franco one though. This one I would give it a 9 out of 10. I'd take a little bit off for what Adam said about it being a little like repetitive
Exhausting.
or Intense, exhausting. That's a good word. Exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets a little
Yeah.
exhausting toward the middle, but the third act it kind of pulls around, and becomes good again.
Yeah.
Loved it though. Yeah.
I give it a 8 out of 10.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I'm a 5. I'm giving it 5 stars for now. If I ever go back to it as an adult, I might adjust it, because I did feel it a little bit in the middle where it's like, okay, where's this going? Before they do the like rescue kind of sequence, which got me back in. Yeah, but aside from that, everything we've already mentioned, it's like a very earnest, kind of honest movie, which surprisingly holds up very well, considering how old it is now.
Speaking of the rescue sequence, I kind of wonder how commonplace a lot of these ideas that we now consider to be like very common tropes were at that point in time. You have the everything was a dream sort of thing. You have the sneaking in by stealing the guards' clothes and pretending you're one of them sort of thing.
Yep.
It's like, I'm sure Wizard of Oz didn't invent it. Maybe they did. I would be very surprised to figure out that wasn't like something that other stories had done before that point. But I wonder if like any audiences or anybody would have watched that and been like, that's kind of a trope. I don't really think that would have been a thought process as much back then.
Because the archetype, like the story archetype the film kind of falls into, is like a very familiar and trusted one, so you can see the way it's echoed through the years, because it is just like a solid foundation for how to tell a like fancy kind of story like this, like the setup, payoffs, every character has like a motivation and a change by the end. Like it's all solid stuff.
The world is fun, a lot of fun designs in it and ideas.
Oh, yeah, and I don't want to end the discussion without mentioning that I thought Judy Garland did a really great job in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very good.
Really enjoyed her performance. Apparently she's had a very, very sad life.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found out, isn't her daughter in Arrested Development?
Oh, I don't know.
That's like one of the main characters in it. It's very weird, like the way it's all linked like that. But yeah, it is a sad story from my understanding too.
Yeah, anybody interested, just look up on the wiki, I guess. Because we're not going to go into too much detail about that.
Yeah, you can honestly read like just forever about this movie. There's so much. It's so prolific.
There's also an interesting article that you can find, another wiki article, talking about how this film is a very important movie in terms of like the gay rights movement and gay people back when everybody had to be closeted because you get the shit kicked out of you and murdered if you weren't, sort of thing. Like,
in a lot of places.
People would ask like, "Are you a friend of Dorothy?" sort of thing, to, you know, kind of as a code to ask if someone's gay, sort of thing. Like the rainbow, that, you know, was also like very inspired in terms of that becoming like the pride flag and symbolic of the movement. But yeah, just look up the article on Wikipedia. It's an interesting read.
That's awesome, yeah.
So you guys saw the other Oz movies or what?
None of us have seen Return to Oz, which, from what I understand, is a bit infamous for how like kind of weird it is. Like,
yeah, it's like nightmare fuel, apparently.
Yeah, like it says Dorothy is saved from a psychiatric experiment by a mysterious girl is somehow called back to Oz. Blah,
sounds
blah,
like a fucking horror movie.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but and then Sam Raimi did. What was it? Oz the Great and Powerful?
Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James
Wizard
Franco.
of Oz prequel.
Anne Hathaway.
Oh yeah, Sam Raimi. I keep forgetting that. Yeah. We mentioned it at the end of the last episode. I'm like, yeah, I keep forgetting. Didn't see any of them.
I don't remember liking that movie though, the Sam Raimi one.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out, and I noticed there weren't enough little people in it. Not nearly as many as the old
Munchkins.
one.
0 out of 10.
No Munchkin. Yeah, I think there were Munchkins, but they were just like normal guys, or you know, I don't know. I remember that distracting me. Though.
I want
the
my
movie
little
itself
people.
was fine.
But the real problem with how that film looked, it started that because it was Disney, wasn't it? It was like the start of that Disney look, you know, because I guess it was Alice in Wonderland kind of.
Yeah. Alice in Wonderland, I think, started it, and that looked really bad. Oz is like a little bit better. Because I think the technology got a little bit better. Yeah, but you're right. It was distracting. I remember the movie started with like the sepia tone too. I don't remember
it's
how
very
long
similar,
it went
isn't it?
on
'Cause
for. Or
yeah. It's not a very memorable or like recommendable movie, to be honest.
No.
I watched it once and I was like, "Oh, whatever. It's a Wizard of Oz prequel."
I'll look at the trailer, see how much it's aged. Yeah, it starts out black and white, like 4:3, so that's pretty cool. And then it becomes, a bunch of Tim Burton crap with the CGI.
They definitely have a certain look, those Disney-like movies that have gone back to an old property type thing. They all are like from the same machine type deal.
The same algorithm.
Yeah.
Wonder if they could do it again. Like make another Oz movie now. Michelle Williams is in it too. Jeez.
Do you think they're going to do like a Wizard of Oz remake at some point, or is it too sacred?
The Wizard of
remake?
Oz
No.
expanded universe where we
Based
get
on the
a
Oz
Tin Man
Bible.
solo story, and you just call it Iron Man.
Based on the Book of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz Revolutions, Wizard of Oz Redux. Just shot for shot remake it.
Reloaded.
The Wizard of Oz cubed.
Okay, are we done on Oz? We done with the wizard and all that shit?
There's the Oz show on HBO. That's
Oh.
about a prison.
That's supposed to be good, isn't it?
Yeah. I gotta
Does
see
that have
it.
anything to
Cool
do with the
idea, but
Wizard
I've
of
never
Oz?
seen it.
No.
Okay, well
Do
then.
not.
Is there no
It's
relation
not the
at all?
same.
Oh,
I don't
right.
think so.
I assumed it was like named
It's like a
after
really
some-
hardcore prison show. I don't recommend that for families.
You're
It's a
fans of
fucking
the Wizard of
HBO
Oz?
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch that.
Okay, then let's move on to some questions from the community. If you want to leave your own questions for next episode or future episodes, head over to the Sardonicast Reddit, where there's a suggestion thread where you can ask us whatever you like. Let's start off with this one from M. Goldie12, who says, "Hey guys, I noticed that Ralph has finally seen a bunch of Ghibli movies, so I wanted to ask all three of you what your favorites are and why." Did you go through the majority of them?
I only went through a couple. I saw Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and I think I saw one other one, but I forgot the name of it.
Those are my two favorite ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Anyway.
everyone said they got those.
What'd you think,
Princess
Ralph?
Mononoke, I think, is my favorite one.
Okay, cool.
They're great. The animation's fucking beautiful in them, which I see why they're so famous. Yeah, they're really entertaining just to look at. And I appreciate both of them on different levels. I like how different they are. How one's like a action adventure story, and the other one's like a drama or a comedy. Like very it was just about that little girl. I don't remember much about it, but it was just about like this little girl going to a fantasy land.
Yeah, it's
kinda
almost like
Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and yeah, it was just good on that level.
Very creative
music.
design of like characters and animation and everything. Really love how everything looks. Yeah, I guess we all have the same answer for our favorite two.
Yeah, yeah. But I could be wrong on this, but I remember like hearing or reading or watching a video on how Miyazaki's kind of process is that he just kind of starts drawing storyboards, and the story just takes, it just goes wherever it just comes from, like naturally.
That's
Which
cool.
is like such an interesting idea to me. That must be how he does like a loose framework or something, because I'm just thinking about like how you'd make it cohesive, but like this, it's a really cool idea and very like arty kind of animation mind type thing to do.
Yeah, like he draws out little bits of the story and then fills it all in, like fills all those frames in.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
yeah. I need to rewatch Spirited Away actually.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one too again.
Because I think
It's
Spirited Away is my
been
favorite.
a year or so.
Yeah, I need to watch both of those again for sure. It'd be nice to get like a 4K Blu-ray.
Oh, are they not out in 4K?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I would.
It's probably
It's
gonna be put
animated
on
too.
Disney
I don't think
Plus,
it
aren't
matters
they?
that much, right? I
Doesn't
got
Disney
it on
own
Blu-ray.
them?
They made Ponyo. That's the other one I saw.
Did
Ponyo,
they, have they
Yeah.
not
which I
like
thought
gone
was
back
okay.
and bought the rights to them all yet or something?
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure. I should look that up. I know
Be good
they've
if they
worked
were
with him
on-
now, which makes sense because I mean his movies are gorgeous. Why wouldn't they want to work with him?
Yeah, exactly. Gremlins 2 asks us this one. What recent movies, let's say 2019 to the present, do you think deserve the YMS, Ralph the Movie Maker, or Search the Worst series treatment, other than any you guys are currently working on?
Damn it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't cheat
So
for
from
some
last
things
year?
you're already doing. Yeah, something in your recent memory where you've been like, I really could make a video on this. But
The
like, it slipped through
Fanaticus
the
one,
cracks.
where like I feel like it's so obvious, and part of me is like, like, don't do it because it's kind of hack material. Because I feel like everyone's ripped it to shreds already. Like, everyone knows it's terrible. And, like, I've already made fun of John Travolta, but the movie is just so fucking awful that I have considered it often. Like, why don't I just talk about it? Because there's so much to say.
It is really funny.
Would you recommend actually watching it? Because I keep seeing it. I think on Netflix and
it's on Amazon Prime, I think, for free.
Watch it with my commentary track, bro.
I gotta watch it with that, but just watching it on its own is hilarious. It makes no sense. Terrible acting. Like, you could tell they just filled in, like, shots. Like, Travolta wasn't on set that day, and like, it was ridiculous. He drives down the same street like 10 times.
Well, I don't know if it's something that, you know, I haven't even made so much of as like a quickie on. There isn't really that much that I haven't covered in some form that I've watched from like 2019, 2020. There's one straight to Netflix documentary that I didn't cover on my channel called Enter the Anime. And I awesome. Rated it a 1 out of 10. Go to the IMDb for that and just read through some of the reviews. It's hilarious. It's sitting at a 2.6. It's so garbage. It's so bad. It's like literally just one person who was hired by Netflix to make a documentary on anime or something. And the entire movie is basically just like, hey, look at me, I'm on vacation in Japan, and then says like really, really basic things about anime that don't even really cover the history or its cultural significance in any way. Just like, yeah, Japanese people really like anime, don't they? And then and then the entire thing just acts as this vehicle to be promotional for the Netflix anime series that exists. And so most of the documentary just covers that stuff, and not in any kind of like intelligent or thought-provoking way. It's so boring. It's terribly edited. It's like it really just feels like a child made this, and it's so bad. So that would be my pick.
Yeah, mine would be Men in Black International. Film's horrible.
Ah.
But it's just one of those ones where it's so boring that I don't ever want to see it again. You know, I don't want to sit down and like just have it be my life for ages. I just can't. It's too much.
I don't get the dynamic of that movie, like the casting.
There is none. The casting is just because of
well, like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith was like, Will Smith is the young guy who's like learning the ropes and he's cool and he brings something new, but Tommy Lee Jones is like the old guy who teaches him the ropes and he's like grumpy and like, oh, it's so clear what that is, like just from the poster. And this is like Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. It's like, okay, it's just what, two random guys who are like, like what's going on here?
It's just Marvel actors.
Yeah, it's like the two Thor characters just again in Men in Black now.
That's such a thing that keeps happening. Like these weird movies that get assembled because someone like was near where they were shooting like the Avengers, and like the cast had a few spare days, so like just random members of like the Marvel family are just in these like awful
it's
comedies.
Like makeshift. Oh, we got Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. We got a Men in Black movie we want to make. We can just do it in a weekend. Something like that. Did you see Hellboy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I made a quickie on that.
That's honestly worth reviewing.
Yeah, true.
I think I know a few people who worked on it, which keeps me away from it. Because I don't want to hurt their feelings. Because like when when I make a review, it's like hundreds of thousands of people watch it. I'm like, I don't know. It's like bullying almost to like rip a movie to shreds for like 25 minutes or so. But no, just talking about it, like generally, it's a bad movie. Yeah, it's really bad.
No argument there.
Really wrong.
Really
it's
bad.
Like everyone's just in agreement to like no one is fighting for that movie.
No,
it's just everyone just conceded immediately.
Killed the franchise.
It's a little extra offensive when Guillermo wanted to make the third movie in the trilogy and they didn't let him, and then they just rebooted it. It's like, damn it.
They made a cheap like Deadpool knockoff almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With no charisma.
Going off that superhero Deadpool shit.
I think David Arbor didn't like the movie. Did he come out saying he didn't like it or something?
I have no idea.
I got the sense just by watching it.
It's one of those movies that doesn't even feel like it was directed by like one person. It does feel like just, crew just took care of it, like it was just made by someone. It exists, and it's got like the Stranger Things guy in it, and like a CG pig monster. It's just a weird film, man.
Neil Marshall directed that?
Yeah,
Wow.
I could tell it was from Neil Marshall watching it. There are some Neil Marshall-isms in the movie. Like, it had some, like, fun gore at points. You know, it wasn't, like, I couldn't say that, like, every moment of it was pure joylessness. The majority of it was.
I think it's really consistent, though. Like, the gore and the effects are really consistent. Like, I think there was this pig orc-looking guy in it that was kind of cool looking at times. But then there was some, like, when he fought the giants in the field, that looked awful. Or, like, the end where there's all these, like, CGI monsters who pop out of the ground for no reason, and then they just go away. Like, they don't fight Hellboy or anything. They just, like, massacre a bunch of innocent people, and then they go away. It's like, what was the point of that?
Because it was R-rated, right?
That's it. It doesn't make any sense. I thought it was just horrible.
Yeah, man, it's like, oh, we got permission to do this, like, R-rated. Oh, cool.
This ain't your dad's Hellboy.
Yeah, so they just, like, get some animators together and put together this, like, gruesome scene, and they just add it in randomly. There you go. There's your R rating.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Nick Cage for Life asks,
nice.
Do you have any phobias? I feel like phobia is quite serious, you know? Like, you can be scared of something without it being a phobia. I feel like a phobia is like a real deal type stuff.
Yeah, I'm scared of bees.
Bees?
You're scared of bees?
Yeah.
You're allergic?
No, I tell people I am.
Really? So you're frightened of bees. Well, how do you feel about wasps?
Oh, the same thing. Like anything that looks like a bee or a wasp. Yeah, but any of them, I'm like...
About a hornet, like a massive hornet.
Yeah, oh shit.
Are you scared of Ben Shapiro?
Why would it be? Is there like some bee joke with him? Really?
He sounds like one.
I'm scared of
Is that
Bee
why
Movie.
you don't like Bee Movie then?
Yeah, that's why. But yeah, it's not like a phobia. I'm not like, oh, but I don't want to be stung by a bee. Fuck that. Get that fucking thing away from me. Yeah,
okay.
It's pointless. And then you have this stinger stuck in you. You gotta pull it out. It fucking sucks. I got stung twice in my life. I got stung on like a water slide once. Like one of those like closed in water slides. I'm like, how the fuck did a bee get in there? Yeah. It's like the place you'd least expect to get stung.
You were stuck with the bee.
Yeah. I just went down there and it fucking stung me. And I came out of the slide. I was like, ah.
Is that why you don't like Beyonce?
Ooh.
I love Beyonce. What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't like heights a lot of the time. I don't know if I would consider it to be a phobia. It really depends on the context. Like, I don't know. We were in that chairlift or whatever in Sundance. I was fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's like, I don't know. I'm a very tall person, and sometimes there are like balconies where the railing, you know, my hips are like basically at the level. So it's like if I just lean forward, I'd fucking die. Sometimes it's more of just like Call of the Void sort of thing going on in my head where, you know, I think like, what if I jumped sort of thing, and that just kind of freaks me out. Really depends on the context or where I am or what my mood is, but generally I would say I don't like heights much. But
do you manage in like theme parks then? Like, ever been on one of those rides that just goes vertically up like thousands of meters?
I enjoy those. Like, if I'm like strapped into something and I can like trust it, like it's fine.
Right.
But yeah, if I'm, you know, on a really high floor of an apartment or something on a balcony, like it's not like so debilitating that I like freak out and cower in fear. It's just like makes me uncomfortable and puts a lot of images in my brain that I don't like thinking about.
Yeah, that's a very understandable one. I get that now and again. I never used to, though. Like, I never used to care about heights when I was younger, but the older I get, I'm just more cautious, I suppose. I'm not quite frightened of bees, though. I have too much respect for bees. Because of Jerry Seinfeld, obviously. We got a stupid one here from CC Buddy Rider. One of these stupid would you rathers. We haven't done one, I don't think, before, so I'll allow this once. Okay. Would you rather piss your pants once a week at random or shit your pants once a month at random?
Interesting.
Because I say shit personally.
I'd say shit too. Because you could just wear a diaper once a month.
Yeah, but it's at random. You wouldn't be able to prepare
Yeah, you gotta
for
wear
it.
it the whole month.
It says at random.
But even
though.
so, that's still better than like.
You can
because
still
I'd have to wear
prepared.
diapers anyway for the pee. But that's 4
I thought
times
you were
a
saying
month.
you have to wear diapers anyway, full stop.
I need more context to this
Yeah.
question. Is it a full pee or is it a little bit of pee? Is it a full poop or is it
I'll
like a
act as the
shirt?
arbiter of this information. Yeah, full pee. Bladder full all the way.
Full pee.
Yeah. Like the real stuff.
Once a week would get annoying.
Yeah, that's my logic. Like once a month is only once every 4 weeks as opposed to 4 every 4 weeks.
And you're wearing the diaper anyway. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I
Better
better
just
just
get used
deal
to it
with
and
it
enjoy
once.
being, a diaper guy.
It'd be fun.
They both sound bad. Neither of them are
Do you
pleasant.
know what we call diapers in the UK?
Uh-oh. What?
Do you not know?
No.
So we call them nappies.
Nappy.
Oh.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Nappies.
Nappies.
That's
Get
an
the
okay
baby
one.
a nappy, will ya?
That's kind of funny.
We're weird people. I'm sorry.
hmm
But yeah, go on. Piss or shit, Adam. Piss or shit.
I don't. I always have so much difficulty with these questions, and people get mad.
Yeah,
that I
I
don't,
can't stand
commit
them.
to one.
You just got to decide.
Yeah, don't think it out too much.
Do you want to be pissy pants every week or shitty underwear once a month?
Oh my god, this is too difficult for me.
No, you have to choose. That's the game. You have to pick.
I guess poop my pants.
Yeah.
Now there's like all this weird audio people can take and mess with.
Yeah.
Fan art.
Oh no.
Diaper poop in my pants.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this one then from LoCho_XX. What movies get away with being corny?
I don't know, getting away with being corny.
Yeah,
Ones
Some
that are
movies are
self-aware.
corny, and you have to accept it. Yeah, like Spider-Man.
Crank. Oh yeah, Spider-Man, Raimi,
Star Wars.
trilogy. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Anything like serially, like Indiana Jones is corny, but that's like what is good about it,
Some older films, corny acting maybe. Well, Wizard of Oz has some. I wouldn't call it dated, but there's stuff
Corny,
of that time that's like very of that time. Definitely. Yeah, like kind of corny.
Yeah. Just those ones, I guess. Like.
That's it. Yeah, those are the only movies that are allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I think things are corny a lot, but I just forget like what they were even.
Plenty of movies get away with being corny. Just depends on what your threshold is, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm enjoying corniness a lot more as I get older for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like the right type of corny.
Yeah, it really depends how serious the movie is trying to be.
Yeah, of course. We got a fairly chunky one from the Meme Walker, so bear with me as I read this. A lot of context for this, I reckon, is needed. I usually go to see movies with my father, who very dearly loves cinema, as do I. We often get into the same sort of argument when we watch certain movies. The argument usually begins because I think the movie's brilliant and deserving of a high score because of its technical aspects, acting, etc., while my father is of the opinion that that's all fine and all, but that the substance of a movie always comes from the message it conveys, whether the director intended it or not. So the main question that I'd like to ask your opinion on is this. How big of a role does the meaning of a movie play when it comes to judging it? And if it isn't just trying to say something, doesn't that mean it's vapid or not as interesting? So basically, the meaning, is that the most important thing to you?
I would not say it's the most important thing. I can appreciate and love movies that have, I guess, goals for their meanings that I would either disagree with or not even consider to be all that profound, I guess.
Yeah.
Really depends on the movie. I certainly wouldn't love a movie where the meaning is all it has going for it and every technical element of filmmaking, like the actual art and craft of it, is just garbage. I wouldn't love a movie just because of its message and nothing else.
Yeah, that's why I can't come up with excuses for movies like Southland Tales, where it's like,
Yeah.
sure, some of these ideas might be like really interesting and fleshed out in some forms, but the way it comes together in this movie is just, it's not acceptable, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the package. Every movie has a meaning. even if it's not trying to have a meaning at all. You assign your own meaning to it. So the only thing we can judge on objectively is how well the movie conveys its meaning. So I think it's important, but it needs to be a good film too. Southland Tales is a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also finding, based on the genre, my expectations differ wildly. Like, especially for these like big budget, kind of huge Hollywood CG heavy films. Like, I'm finding I'm looking for more out of the story and like writing than I am a lot of the kind of scope, because we've kind of seen it all at this point, you know, like we've seen giant sharks and shit like that. Like, it just gets more sophisticated the more you're kind of shown something, and you kind of look for more based on your experience and how much you've watched. Because like maybe a little kid watching like The Meg would be like blown away because they've never seen anything like that. But
The Mig.
The Mig.
That's how Jason Statham said it.
Cockney geese, yeah.
There was another character in the movie called Mick. And so it was really confusing. Mick, we gotta go get the Mig.
It's one of the Sardonicast favorite movies, that one, The Meg, gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah, depends on the movie. I don't know. I don't really consider the meaning to be make it or break it in my evaluation of a film.
It can make a film stand out if it's saying something really different.
It can make it connect with you more.
Because there are a lot of movies
that
just that either have no point, or the point has been done a million times. A coming age movie or whatever. Things we've done, we've done a million times that are not that impressive.
Yeah.
You got a movie like Climax. I don't know what the meaning of that was, but definitely unique.
Yeah, but that's what separates films, really, is like you can have a coming of age movie done in a really bland presentation, and then another film having an identical meaning, if that's what you want to call it, like another coming of age movie that's presented in a very unique way. And I would say that the presentation would be what separates the two films in terms of quality for me.
Yeah. But then there's a movie like Buffalo 66, where I'm not saying that's not well made. It is well made, but it's very cheap and like indie, and that still has meaning, and it stands out because of its meaning, that it isn't saying the same thing that 1,000 other movies have said.
Yeah,
that's what makes that one stand out.
Yeah. A director or writer that clearly has something to say is a positive for sure.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not the message of the film is something that I would, I guess, agree with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, do you want to do one more?
Okay, let's do this last one then. That's on similar tracks, and I kind of brought it up in our Wizard of Oz discussion, but something I've been pondering lately that I'd like to talk about, from Ink Drop 53. Who says, when a film attempts to be artsy or ambiguous, how much does one's own interpretation of the filmmaker's intentions contribute to their opinion? Is it a valid view of what they were trying to come across? When are we simply projecting ourselves and our beliefs onto films that had no intention of saying anything related to said beliefs?
Doesn't matter.
So you think it doesn't, like, either way, it doesn't matter?
Is it saying like the director's meaning of the movie or whatever is different from the audience interpretation?
What's the best way to describe it? Obviously, everyone takes and expects different things and analyzes different things based on their experiences, I guess. Like, of course, me, like, Brit in England, like, I'm going to think differently of a movie than someone in, like, Wakully would, you know? Like, your background, I think, is, like, essential, really, to a lot of what you take away from it. And also your understanding of... You can kind of make assumptions based on how you feel, I guess. A director is like typically approaches something they do, or like with David Lynch, you kind of have to understand like the person. I'm thinking of like Eraserhead, which is like there's a lot of like it doesn't have a typical kind of standard narrative type deal. So there's a lot of like theories and trying to picture together what you think it all means. And you can kind of find meaning from understanding where the director comes from. And David Lynch is like wacky guy. You know, you listen to him talk and you understand his like art process and whatnot, and it kind of all stems from there for me.
Yeah,
because like there is a lot of guessing games a lot of the time. Like you can never truly know like a director's intent, can you? Because like a lot of the process, like when we had the director of Shazam on, he does that really good video about how lots of filmmaking is just about problem solving, and a lot of the things that people interpret from movies weren't even intended a lot of the time. So
yeah, exactly. Like the director should hone in on a theme and a story, yeah, but a lot of it is going to be interpreted just by the person watching it. Like a film is not, it's not made to be watched and then you read online what the meaning was, or read like the director's interview. It's cool to get that perspective, but a film is like you sit there and you just experience it and take your life and what you experienced and put that on top of it and get meaning out of it. It's impossible to know exactly what a director's intending. And it's pointless to try to find that out, because that's not the point of a movie. The point of the movie is what you got out of it and what you experienced.
I do like understanding what the director's intent was also.
Yeah, I do too, of course. Especially with some of these movies that are so, like a David Lynch movie, it's like, what the fuck was that? You need some some kind of explanation, but not always.
Sometimes a movie is more about what it is to you than what the director was necessarily intending. Sometimes art can transform into something that was not initially the goal.
That's why they made it a film and not just the director telling you his opinion on the subject matter.
Yeah.
Because that's not interesting. He makes it a film instead, so you can interpret it in a way.
So yeah, a fair few directors decline to explain their movies, don't they? For that exact reasoning, like they just want people to take away from it what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Charlie Kaufman explaining his movie would be a disservice to the movie.
Yeah, that's why there's no commentary track for Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah, and Lynch too. He doesn't explain his stuff.
Yeah, because in a way I feel like I think that what they're thinking in a way would be that it would almost invalidate someone's interpretation and experience if it didn't line up perfectly with what the director's intent was, when that's not necessarily the goal of what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It makes a movie a lot less interesting. Like when Mother came out and the movie was bombing, so they forced Darren Aronofsky to come out with Jennifer Lawrence and explain the movie, like what it was about.
Oh yeah,
and that takes away. I think that takes away something. Yeah. It takes away something from like your interpretation of it, because now it's like, oh, it's just a Bible allegory, because that's what the director said.
Yeah.
And like when I watched the first time, I'm not reading the Bible all the time. I'm not a Catholic or like I'm not like a hardcore religious person. So I was just watching it. I was getting more the marriage allegory, like divorce and a couple straining apart. And like there's this God imagery in there, but there's other things to read into. And to hear like a director just boil it down to, oh, it's Bible, she's Mother Nature, he's God, it sucks. It makes a movie worse, I think. I like not hearing the director explain everything.
Depending on the movie, depending on the scene.
Yeah, I suppose I'm more interested in the person and the way they think more than I am in them trying to like explain beat by beat, you know, what a movie means. You know, like I'm not interested in David Lynch explaining Eraserhead to me, but I would be willing to listen to him talk about like his creative process, and you can kind of figure
how
out
they made the movie,
style.
All that stuff is super fascinating.
Yeah. You just really bug some people, I guess. Like not knowing when things are up in the air. It's like we have to have answers. We need to know. I think it drives people a bit crazy sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's not about that.
Well, saying like it's whatever you interpret can be a cop-out answer too.
Yeah, of course.
And there's like bad directors who would do that with their work. Southland Tales. You know, there's some cases where that is perfectly valid.
Yeah.
So I like it when people on the internet come up with like really weird theories for movies, even if it's not true or what most people would interpret. I like that. I like hearing a different perspective on a movie with some facts backing it up, because it's like when you watch the movie again, it's like watching the movie for the first time. You notice all these new things that someone else might have pointed out to you, someone with a different perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like the online mentality where like there's one meaning of a movie, and if you don't interpret it that way, you misinterpreted the movie and your interpretation's wrong. Which I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, I think it comes from that gray space of not having answers and people like really feeling like they need them to feel satisfied with the
it depends.
experience they got out of it.
because I don't know.
Yeah,
I
of course.
I would, we've talked about Under the Silver Lake and people calling it sexist when I think that kind of misses the point of what the movie's communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it depends on like the complaint. If it is something like that and you're not really given a very strong case, then it's easy to kind of dismiss.
mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's what the question's kind of talking about, isn't it? With the like projecting your own shit onto a movie, like it isn't always necessarily there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people sometimes read into more than the directors did also. So
Mm-hmm. And you end up learning a lot about the person analyzing the movie than you do the movie.
Yeah,
Which is why film is so interesting.
Long.
That's
Yeah.
I think projecting sometimes is a good thing.
mm-hmm.
Because it's like you learn about the person.
Yeah.
As long as they're not saying like, well, Birth of a Nation, that was a great movie or whatever, then I think it's cool.
That aligns with my beliefs.
What Birth of a Nation does.
I haven't seen it still, but I know.
Oh.
I kind of get an
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
Yep. All right. I guess that does it for questions.
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Some good ones in there, some silly ones too.
All right. So I guess it's time to recommend a movie. There's I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think either of you have seen this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Shane Carruth's Upstream Color.
No, I've really wanted to, so that's
No?
great.
Yeah, I think that's in my watch list.
Okay, great. Have either of you seen Primer also, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Primer I love.
No, it's another one. I need
Okay.
to catch up on
Interesting.
my list.
All right. So yeah, same director, very low budget. Word of warning, it does not hold your hand. And so if
It's like Primer. Like,
I
really
mean,
hard to understand what's going on.
it's in ways yes and in ways no, like different goals.
Okay.
So if you wanted to watch it twice, I wouldn't put it past you. I've seen it a few times. So if you wanted to hear my interpretation in the podcast, I can always do that too. And yeah, we're gonna be watching this movie, and next episode we'll be joined by a guest, AmandaTheJedi, YouTuber, Twitch streamer, cool person, and she'll be joining us and talking about Upstream Color and maybe some other things. All right. Well, thank you all for listening or watching or both. If you want to support the show, Sardonicast.com. Sign up for premium. You'll get these episodes early, $2 a month. Also, patreon.com/Sardonicast. Also, we got merch. Links in the description. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful apocalypse. And,
Yeah, don't get sick.
yep,
Good luck.
be careful
Drink
out
lots of
there.
Corona.
Drink lots of Corona.
No
that
place
what
like
Sardonicast
Sardonicast is
home.
doing.
There's no podcast like Sardonicast, guys.
There's no
Technically.
podcast like Sardonicast.
Anyway, thank you. Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.
Bye.